Why do they call people of color? Think.
Bear with me, family.
Right.
I'm trying to get y'all in.
Artificial person.
That's so if they're
in on the
artificial.
conversation.
If something's if you have an artificial plant, does it deserve water? So if you have people who say they're people of color, and that means there is no scientific truth to it whatsoever, it's a term that will apply to people that are designated as Christian property stock. Branded, hold on, branded, it means a semblance, a simulacrum, distinguished from that which is real. So if they say that they're not real humans, should human rights apply to people who they themselves say they're not part of the human family? And they say it proudly, don't they? Like it's some spiritual Afrocentricity, don't they? Well, it has meaning in law.
Okay, when you hear black, no one is black, but the term black is the general term that we as black people use to discuss all of us as one people. But black is a color-coded term. It is a legal term which is put in the United States documents, all of the law books, which references a dead individual. It references property. It references a system that can put you inside of a law where if you get pulled over by the police, where you're going through court systems and all these legal issues, you can be put into a modern form of slavery. Okay, there's a high science dealing with the term black, but the original term is Moorish, or even prior is Asiatique.
Black, if we could get our people away from the emotions of defending a habit that we've been trained to. See, because just like the youth today don't know that a few generations ago, where there was still some consciousness left, if you called an Asiatic or African black, you had a fight.
Being black was being cool. I remember it wasn't black in those days because black wasn't beautiful yet. Remember, you couldn't even say black. You called a dude black. I don't play that. Don't call me black. I'm a Negro. I remember when black men come through our neighborhood, man, dressed in like the clothes you have on. Black men, you know what I'm talking about. Be black and be proud. My parents go, that nigga crazy.
When the European calls us black, he's using it from an engineering perspective for classification purposes. And if our people would understand that much, because it is a fact, improvable fact, then they would look at it different. Whereas, like, for instance, like, you'll find a lot of Asiatics when you're talking to them, you're saying you're not black, they're looking from the perspective like you're trying to take their identity from them. You're looking at it from the fact that it's an engineering word. And so because we're looking at it from two different perspectives, it appears to be a clash. Now, a scholar, you can reason with a scholar because you can tell a scholar, so go to the etymology and then the debate is over. But you tell a person that just deals with beliefs, they're going to argue with you all night because they don't even know where you come from because they don't have an education. While admitting that we've been miseducated. That's what the problem is, trying to get an uneducated people to respect education. And they're debating with what they believe against facts, which is you're trying to get them away from that venue.
One word I want to look up is black. We assume that black means people of color, you know, and we've been programmed to think that. But you'll be surprised at the definition. This is the same dictionary I have here. Let's go to the word black. Here it is. It says black, right here, pale, wane, livid, to turn white, to become black, to blacken, black, ink, black, pale, wane, livid, black, ink, blacker, to isolate, insulate, to expose to the sun, or to bleach, also to lighten, to flash, bleak, pale, bleaken, to bleach, bleach, pale, wane, bleak, bleaching, to bleach.
Logically, it is actually a skin color, but it needs to be affirmed of who it applies to because the word black means bleach. That's what it means.
True.
And bleach means pale. So the Europeans are actually the black man. And what they did was they switched our identity. They stole our identity, or actually stole our minds. So now they saying they proud to be Americans when American applies to the copper color, copper complexion people, which is us, you know, and we saying we black. So it's a verbal and mental agreement for a status change. But in reality, black is not an identity. It's a status. It's a legal status, but it is the lowest form of any type of legal status.
Now, see, that's very important when you say black is a legal status.
Yeah.
Because now, when you say things like black is really the white man, that is confusing.
But I'm not
as
saying.
hell.
But I'm not saying
and
that.
our
black,
people is going to try to get at you for that.
That's fine.
So you got to really clear that up. What you saying, brother?
I got you. One, I'm not saying that the white man is the black man.
Right. Okay.
I'm not saying
that's
that.
Why I said
I'm
clear.
saying that black etymologically means pale. He's not a white man. First off, that's the first thing. We have to come out the context that he's the white man. He's not white. You know, he's a paleolith. So when you're speaking of black people, you're talking about the paleolith. That's who they are. Now, when we don't have understanding of that, it's going to be, it seems offensive or like you're saying something real wild. But you can do the math on this. The word black means pale. Bleach, black, same exact thing.
What year in American history did Europeans begin to refer to themselves as an actual color? As a quote unquote.
In the 1800s, in 1870, they had a Naturalization Act. This is in the Law Dictionary. 1870 is when they had the Naturalization Act, to where that's when they first lawfully on paper started being called white people.
Yes.
After that Naturalization Act. But you got to understand, nationalization and naturalization are two different processes.
Yes.
So whenever you have to naturalize somebody, one, the first attribute is they have to be an alien. All right, they can't be the natives to the land and be naturalized. So essentially, these foreigners was, you know, legally incorporating, stealing our status, not our identity, our status, which the word white means God, God means purity, white means purity, purity means God, God means ruler of the land.
It is Obatala, as I was saying earlier, who is the creator of humanity and mankind. Now, Obatala is the source of all that is pure, wise, peaceful, and compassionate. He has a warrior side, though, through which he enforces justice in the world. And Obatala's colors is white. And with his main color being white, there is also other colors associated with him, like red, purple, to represent her different paths. White is most appropriate for Obatala as it contains all the colors of the rainbow.
Obatala is white, or sometimes white and silver, you know, those type of colors. Now, white also represents every color, because if you were to look at things in a prism, you know, that white light, you can see every color that's in it.
But we're speaking to freshmen, and it's understood. This is a senior lesson.
Okay.
I saw an article where it had Selassie, Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia, referred to as a white man. Now, we know that they weren't speaking of it in his color. You know what I mean? They weren't referring to it as his nationality. But when he arrived in the Americas, his status afforded him the status of white. Not white people, but the status of a white as, you know, being a sovereign.
Right. Even brothers and sisters that come from like Egypt today, they still get that on there.
Indeed.
White.
The attitude towards me changed completely after I went out publicly and rejected my white classification. One coworker came to me and told me, a white coworker came to me and told me right after the function that he met with the superintendent, and if I don't keep my mouth shut, my educational career is over. He said, you have nothing to do with these people, you have a history and a culture. These people came from the jungle, you have nothing to do with them. These people lie and steal. When I see one of them in my neighborhood, I call the police. And I was told by the director of general education, who is retired now, in '88, I was told by him that I get people angry when I say that I'm black Egyptian. If I just say that I'm Egyptian, I would get along.
Y'all probably don't know right off of seeing me, but if you ever saw my paperwork, you would notice I'm a white woman. I I'm a white woman on paper. The census that came around to my house back in 2010, you know, that's when they count how many black people live in the neighborhood. And they had showed up to my house, and they was like, how many people live in this household? I was like, it's just me. And they was like, what's the nationality? I was like, American. He was like, no, I need to know your race. I was like, for real, that's what we doing? We bringing racism to my front door? That's what we doing today on this day? What are you, colorblind? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh shit. And I went back into my brain. I had a That's So Raven moment, and I had a full-on conversation with myself. I was like, girl, this is your chance. What do you mean this is my chance? Obama said it's time for change. What do you mean he said it's time for change? Girl, you could be whatever you want to be. Well, shit.
I mean, I'm for the power of our people. Now, like, say, for instance, you say you're for black power. You're for our people. Right. That's what I mean when I say. And I'm for you, for our people. But when you say black power, you just cast them right into the lowest class of society. But it is only not for a lack of sincerity. It's a lack of knowing what it means in an engineering perspective. And so a social engineer recognizes it immediately. A person who's just passionately battling for the rights of their people are not looking at it from that perspective. So they're innocent victims of linguistics and law.
Right. Civil death. The state of a person who, though possessing natural life, has lost all his civil rights, and as to them is considered dead. Right? That's civil death. Now when you look up the word color in a dictionary, you call yourself a colored person, right? You call yourself a colored person, right? See? This is what it means in the law book. This is a law book, man. This is all attorneys got this book. So y'all be thinking that these attorneys is really out for you. They really not. They really selling you out. But what they do, they hide it in the book. That's why you got to get the books. Colored, all you so-called colored people who think y'all know y'all rights and all that, right? Let me show you what the law say about y'all. By common uses in America, this term in such phrases as colored persons, the colored race, colored man, and the like is used to designate Negroes or persons of African race, including all persons of mixed blood descended from Negro ancestry, right? But see, this is the part right now where it hurts our people to not know this kind of information. It has also been held that there is no legal technical signification to the phrase colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. What does that mean? That means if you call yourself an African American, a colored person, we people of color, you are automatically placed into a dead status. The courts are not legally bound to recognize you, colored person.
The term African American is not a legal form of racial classification. As a matter of fact, neither is black. Both terms were promoted as if it would make the American colored people feel equal to those that are classified as white by the census. The so-called blacks or the so-called African Americans are the only ones that actually believes that the 13th or 14th Amendments were established into the Constitution in their favor. But yet, neither amendment clearly mentions anything about blacks or African Americans being granted citizenship to this country, nor full rights as an American citizen should have. I have shared full details concerning this information in my videos called The Untold Truth About the Term Black, Part 1 and Part 2. But I mention all of this as a warning to inform you that both terms, black and African American, literally does not have any standing in law still to this very day.
We're not Indians. My grandmother is Blackfoot, that they call fakery Blackfoot. On my mother's side, they're Cherokee, that they call Kitawa. And I ain't Indian. I'm indigenous to the land, but I ain't Indian. We're not Indians.
We are black. And what does that mean? Well, I use the word black, and I use that too loosely, because I don't like the word.
What's a good word? The shadows.
No, I am. You call me Negro, you call me nigger, you call me colored boy, you call me black, you call me African. I'm not an African.
Now, the reason that we have to have colorable law and colorable courts is because so many of us agree to be slaves. We don't need colorable courts and colorable law otherwise. But the people who agree to be bound by the 14th Amendment, which covers civil rights, which covers Negroes and African Americans and Jews and Hispanics and Indians and all these people like that, if you agree to call yourself that, they have to create a statute that applies to you because law doesn't apply to you. So it's not their fault. It's the fault of the people who agree to be outside of their sovereign capacity.